violation of a web one.
Did you get one?
Huh? We got it.
We got two of those. Oh yeah, they all drove together.
Higher? This higher?
This is
5-foot time cable.
I'm not going to host it. Or for 2 days. No, no, George has got that. I get a wash and then I get a free wash for it afterwards.
Oh, for
Good morning. Here we go. Good evening, Mr. Pepper. Good morning.
no, we get it on what you call it.
Did you get ready to be on Showtime?
We never voted on it.
I knew we discussed it.
Huh? We never
I
even.
knew we did.
Yeah, but we never.
Yeah.
How'd it go?
Complete mayhem.
Tony, did you go to the best game or did you go to the best game?
My mother has such...
Did she have a white? I could see. I could look up. I was look out and about. Where's the way up? On end. She was on the end.
So much fun.
What a game.
So much fun.
Get the whole thing.
Mother and father. That's awesome.
She had such a she had her gloves on her hat and she had she looked at me and wanted me to walk. She started to tear up. I had such a great time.
The weather. Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, thank you.
It was great. Great. Yeah, it was
I'm glad. I was going to email you, see how, and then I saw your email.
yeah, it was wonderful. Absolutely. Those are the kind of things memories are made of.
Yep.
Oh, really? Hey, Chris.
Yeah, most people take feet as
Try it again. No. Here, in fact, I
do it from school, Mom. I was going to do it.
pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Before we start, I'd like to ask that we observe a moment of silence for the following individuals. John T. Wentworth, who attended schools and was a former employee of the North Syracuse Central School District. Daniel C. DeBerjois, former employee of the North Syracuse Central School District. And Doris A. Hauser-Tilton, a 54 graduate of North Syracuse Central School District. Thank you. Connie, in the future, if the name is a little bit difficult to pronounce, if you could have it in parentheses phonetically for me, because we're trying to honor the folks, and I just makes me mad to not be able to pronounce the names right. So thank you, Connie. Before we start, I'd like to just announce that this board meeting is being broadcast live via the internet on our website. I would like to remind everybody to keep follow good decorum and be polite and try not to do anything you'd be embarrassed about doing live. So with that, the first item is the Smith Road renovation report. John and team. The building looks great. Took a few walks around during the vacation. Looks really nice out there, except for the multicolored siding.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Thank you. I believe the last report that we gave you like practice. We put together just a slideshow that kind of takes us through the transformation of the building. About a year and a half.
I can hum. Okay.
Sorry about that. Project was $16.9 million including bond authorization. We started construction.
I know that I've been involved in renovation projects for 30 years, and aside from, how do I say this, cosmetics appearances, as far as the construction manager piece, your firm, you did an outstanding job. It went very smooth, minimal disruption to the instructional program, and you worked very well with the various contractors, and you worked together as a team, and I was very impressed with how well you worked with everyone. And thank you.
Any questions?
I just want to make a quick comment. I know I make this every time you come, and I will miss your presentations. This is the first construction project that I've been involved as a board member, but I can't say enough for the construction people, the way they behaved in the building, professionally, and also, again, Mrs. Clark, the staff. To not have a classroom to be put somewhere else and then moved again, and they were outstanding. And I saw the staff room. It makes me want to come out of retirement. That staff room is beautiful for the staff. So, outstanding job, I think.
What else? Thank
I'd
you.
just like to say it was awfully quiet today. We had no jackhammers, we had no cranes, we had no backhoes coming through the hallways. So today was my first day with no real construction going on, and alive and well in my new office. So I have a place to call home, which is very nice. And, as has been said by everybody else, John was great. Every time I picked up the phone, he was right there to help me answer questions. And the Watchdog team has been really right there by our side the whole time. They kept us safe. They helped me keep the kids safe and the adults. And as soon as I needed anything, they were right there. So thank you, everybody, for your support, because it's been a long haul for us. So.
One last piece that we are finishing up along with the commissioning. There's also, we applied for NYSERDA for rebate monies throughout this project. So we're in the process now of putting that paperwork together. When that's all said and done, we're looking at about $178,000 coming back in rebate.
When all the punch list items are done, talk to Connie, and we'd like to set up a tour.
A tour for the building, right, and the community
See it
members
completed.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else? Great job.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
CNS BPT.
Yes, Mr. Chapala, the executive principal at the high school, and Mr. Broughton will present building planning team plan.
Any help? Go to start. Okay. Go to computer. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, one quick thing I'd like to make a note of. As you can imagine, with the building in the past, our goals for our building generally revolved around departments. Our building is very departmentalized. Basically, what each department did in the past is they would come up with their own goals, their own individual goals, tailored to either a district, a main district goal. So this is the first year in the new process of actually tailoring all of at least a primary learning objective from each of the departments to an actual building goal, an overreaching goal. So with that preface, I'd like to quickly run through the PowerPoint here to see if there's any, just to give you a quick overview. Basically what we had is looking at the Regents exam data from both English and mathematics in conjunction with meetings that those department chairs had, or at least one department chair had with Mr. Finkel, along with the math department chair having a meeting on her own with Ms. Bizzuto. They came back to BBT. Also in this course of issues, we had a transition, if you will, of our hierarchy in the building. We've gone through, now of course, Mr. Chapalia is our third line within the last 9 months of executive principals. So what we are missing is a little bit of the data on the side. So what I've done is when this came in, we sat around as a BPT around a table because this for us was a major paradigm shift in how to do goals. And we decided to look at it as once the English department chair mentioned about some of the conversations that he had with Mr. Finkel about looking at literacy and looking at content. In other words, being able to read the question and understand the question that was being asked. Once that came out, it lit up across the room as far as every department basically entered in saying that's one of the issues that we find. This is also one of the main first years that we've had our department chairs as our BPT representatives. In the past, BPT was consisted of teachers who volunteered from their departments. And last year, the middle of the year, we decided to try to change around and move into with department chairs as BPT reps to get a little more buy-in, to get a little bit more working within the building. From the resultant discussions with the BPT, led to the overreaching idea that students being deficient in reading comprehension and content literacy. So, using the district goal, basically saying that 100% of the students in grades 7 through 12 will complete district requirements for graduation, we came up with the following building goal: to improve reading comprehension and interpretation of graphic data and informational texts, resulting in an increase in student achievement and passing rate. This was an overall combination of a math goal and a language goal within one, such that we weren't overloading all the different departments from their pieces. The BPT also developed a primary learning objective for those students within each department that each department had to make strategies to attain. And this primary learning objective for the building was that students will interpret informational text and use text-based questions to make inferences while enhancing their writing. So all departments will then focus on reading either from a textbook or a small passage and focus on garnering information from that passage in order to answer a set of following questions. From that point, we tasked the department chairs back out into their departments, such that the departments could then come up with their own ways, their own strategies, their own means for attaining these goals, along with if there's any other secondary primary learning objectives that they feel they need within their departments, because each department still felt that they needed to address certain pieces within their curriculum. So that led us to, basically, when I got the information back from the departments, I tabulated the strategies that departments are using in order to accomplish our primary learning objectives. There still are secondary learning objectives that are there, but these are the strategies that are applying to the primary learning objective. And again, I tabulated them through using what I felt was the most important. I went back to the BPT prior to this meeting to again with the department chairs to go over the different strategies to see if I represented the department well, and they all agreed going through. So I'm just going to do a brief synopsis of each one. I do have the actual sheet that I have provided from the department to me, which does have some more detailed information on the specific department if in questions we get to a point where there's some clarification needed. All right. First, within art, they wanted to utilize the 6+1 rating traits and college career readiness anchor standards when creating the individual artist statements and also their personal critique of the reflection pieces, using basically making the students write a paper as they're critiquing themselves. Within business, they're going to make accurate calculations and account statements through using the text-based questions and also interpret tutorials for game design students. So the students will actually make tutorials within their game. In the Career Center, now obviously we have some situations in the high school with some different departments that aren't necessarily instructing students on a daily basis. And the Career Center and counseling are actually two of our first ones that come up along those lines. So the Career Center is going to create a resume by accessing templates within the Career Center webpage and to help to teach students basically good resume writing and the language of resumes. Counseling is integrating technology to develop a college planning prep program with juniors. Within health is going to use health-related articles and answering text-based questions, both current and past articles. English was going to increase the use of informational text to guide and enhance writing skills. One thing that English found was that they were relying a lot on literature, and they were getting away a little bit from some of the text manuals, if you will, looking at grammar and such. So they're going to now reflect back and to incorporate some more text, informational text, within their classrooms, within their presentations throughout the year. They're also going to answer text-based questions to demonstrate the thorough understanding of the text. Within Family Consumer Science, one of their many strategies was to utilize various weekly and daily activities targeting ELA and math goals. That's pretty much right from their sheet. LOAT, languages other than English, they're going to highlight keywords and verbs within phrases. One of the things that I do in my actual science class when we look at questions. We look at keywords and phrases within questions, and I think looking at them in a foreign language will definitely benefit those students. Also collaborating with colleagues for best practices at their monthly departmental meetings. The Library Resource Center is going to instruct students on paraphrasing informational text and also instruct students on finding and evaluating informational resources. They're going to be doing this through working collaboratively with the English classes as they come in to work on their English research papers. In the math grouping, they're going to underline and highlight keywords and questions, and also to use flowcharts, tables, and other organizational tools in answering a question. This will allow them to, again, process and bring a little bit of literacy within the math classroom and to hopefully touch on all bases. Within music, they're going to use sight reading skills developed through mastery of 8 content areas, and through written assessment, students will study techniques necessary for production of a quality performance. Music is another situation where within their class they had to think outside the box to look at some of these strategies in order to make the overreaching building goal apply to them. Within physical education, the physical education teachers will improve writing instruction, use of diagrams, and math calculations and text-based questions. Upon speaking with Mr. Button, they are going to be doing a little bit more within the classroom as far as in instruction manuals dealing with the different sports that they do. They may be throwing some calculations within different units within their classes. In science, we are going to be utilizing math and text-based questions on unit exams and a midterm, and also calculating a pre and a post and are able to gauge strength or gauge growth. Also within laboratory, students manipulate data pretty much in every lab anyways to apply mathematical skill sets to understand science concepts. Within special education, they're going to reword and highlight keywords and questions again, using anticipatory strategies to gain prior knowledge for their students within their classroom setting. Within social studies, they're going to examine state essay questions and write 1 thematic essay and 1 DBQ per quarter in order to foster those strengths, in order to help them out when they actually do hit the Regents exam where they need to write those pieces. Also create a writing and reading workshop within their classes. And finally, into technology, where the classes will communicate through written words the steps and procedures followed in the lab activities. In other words, writing the procedural processes within their technology lab in order to, again, further the literacy component within their classrooms. And that concludes the PowerPoint. So I would ask now, are there any questions?
That was a lot of information.
Is a lot of information. One of the things that we've done in the past, and Mr. Finkel will acknowledge this, is when we do have, in the past, when the DPT would present to the superintendent of schools, the assistant superintendent for instruction, our packet of goals used to be about a 75 to 78 page document, such that from science alone we would come with 6 pages, amongst other groupings. We are now down to, not double-sided, mind you, we are down to a packet about this size. So we have shrunk, and as I said, this has been a major paradigm shift within the building, and we are, to say that we hit some growing pains would be a nice statement. I guess would be a good valid point. But we did come together very well in coming within one singular building goal and being able to align ourselves underneath that one umbrella, and then to try to align and bring all the different pieces of the puzzle together within the one umbrella.
How will you judge the effectiveness of your strategies and know that you've attained your goal?
The strategies themselves are set up within each individual department. So we as a building have to wait till we get the individual department results back in order to set that, in order really to ascertain whether or not we achieved our goal. Each department within their pieces, again, I can speak to science. Within science, we have text-based questions on all of our midterms, and such that we will take all of the results from all the answers the students have done and their grades within that section, and we're going to tabulate and correlate that, going to give us the baseline. And then we are going to use the Regents exam data of any short answer text-based questions when the Regents exams. I know for one, Living Environment always has one, so we at least have that subset of students. And then if chemistry and physics or earth science as well has those, then we'll be able to add that additional data into the pile for within science. As far as the other groupings, I know with art, it really will come down to the grade, multiple times of the initial grade versus a follow-up grade for the next piece going through. And so each department has those settings within their own little set. And I think if I was to include all those pieces, we would be here probably till the end of the game.
No one expects you to, right?
Yes. Oh, no, I'm glad you asked. It's because it's a very fluid puzzle, if you will, and then correlating them all together.
Just to know that you're evaluating throughout the process of the year rather than waiting until the end of the year, so that if you find that you're not meeting as much success, you can adjust your plan accordingly.
Exactly. And then with us, also as a BPT, we're reinvesting and we're re-looking at each of these within basically every meeting going throughout the year.
Do you have a question?
I have a few comments. I travel to CNS quite a bit, and I think we need to look at some of the positive things, that go along with what you presented. This staff is outstanding, and we've made reductions. There's no doubt about it. The school district has made reductions, and you people have come forth and done an outstanding job. There are a group of teachers up there that volunteer their time with a senior, one-on-one, to make sure that senior graduates. And we're not talking about 20 teachers. We're talking 50 to 75 teachers at the high school that give their time up there. I think that's amazing. With their family and the community events that they're in, they do that. Of course, there's the mentoring program that we have, the APEX program, to make sure that students that we would have lost years ago, we're not going to lose. And the board will see this in June, that the first class will be graduating of students that never would have made it to the high school. So there's a lot of great things going on. I do have a couple concerns, and I just want to bring them up, and then I don't know if you can go back and come back. You'll be coming back in the spring, I believe, to present to the board. I have a concern with 10th graders who they don't really get to know their guidance counselor. They probably haven't met him yet because the guidance counselor worked with seniors and juniors, and they don't get to meet the 10th graders until February. I know it has to do with staffing and so forth, but there's some kind of idea that you come up with where at least there's some touching based with the sophomores. They're up to a new school. I know they have orientation, but they're lost until February before they really get to see somebody to talk about the program. The other thing, and I don't know what can be done about this, and we got a lot of students here, is school spirit. I don't know, when I went to high school, which, was a long, caveman, but in my school there was a lot of school spirit. I know our school offers everything up there. You have things up there that I couldn't even imagine when I was in high school. Kids can go to the canteen, and when that is completed, it's going to be awesome right there near the school. They go to the bowling alley. I hear there's we have buses that go to Striking Spirit, intramurals. Why isn't there more participation by students at the high school? I just don't see that school spirit when I go to a basketball game or I go to a band it's mainly adults that are there. So I don't know how we get to that, but I like to see, with 2,200 kids up there, I like to see a little bit more school spirit. So that's just it. Go ahead.
Talking about the school spirit, I wouldn't say that it's just parents. There's a group of kids.
Oh, there's a core group, yeah.
Well, I think a lot has to do with the fact that we've had such a change in leadership, and it's a constant change in leadership that, I'd be curious to how the BPT feels about the temperature of the building with all the changes that are happening. How are the staff handling all of this?
I think if I could again, this is only from the people that I speak with and that I'm able to interact with on a daily basis. I think that as a staff, we're handling it very well. I personally believe that we're rising to the occasion, moving through. It's not suffice it to say that our ship isn't sinking. Our ship is doing fine. Our ship actually isn't even really taking on water.
That's good to know.
Yeah, we feel we're doing very well. Jim and I have already had a couple meetings sitting down with Carol as our primary leadership team. We're having another meeting tomorrow, basically to debrief from this evening with different ideas going through. So that's another one of those cases of activity. Jim, you want to speak a little bit to that?
I've only been on board for a month, but I understand what you're talking about in terms of the void that can be created if leadership changes too frequently. And I can say in the short time I've been there, there's a real willingness to pull together and to try to address some of the issues. Not everything is going to be addressed at once, but to pick away at it a little bit at a time and to have some improvement by the end of the year.
I happen to be invited to attend the leadership camp that takes place in the summertime. And the students that attended that, it was kind of put to them pretty clearly that we need their help in keeping the student body moving in a positive direction and keeping the building afloat. And I think they took that challenge, and I think they ran with that challenge. And I think that the student body themselves, along with the teachers, in partnership with the teachers, have kept that building going. And therefore, I think that sometimes we overlook the fact that it could be completely different. If either one of those pieces had a different attitude, we'd be in serious trouble. So I think that it's, kudos to the staff, and kudos to the participants of that building, all of the students that are coming, that are trying to be cooperative and trying to help get us through this rough patch.
One last thing, and there's one person in this room, I think, who's done an outstanding job, and that's Mr. Finkel. He's met with all 11 staffs. This is a whole new process that you said. This is a whole new, I see, Sandy probably sees reading in the content area here, Dr. Herbert from SU, but this is a whole new idea, and to work with 11 staffs. And they're all coming back again in the spring. Thank you so much for the hard work that you did.
I have to say that the CNS staff really stepped up. Probably the most enlightening conversations that I had throughout the district. They took on the project, they took on the challenge without missing a beat. I was really proud of them. And I think as they work with this document, and work with the idea of content literacy, they'll be fine, and you'll see these plans grow and develop into something even better than they are now. Thank you also for your leadership.
Anyone else? Thank you. Great job, everyone. Just want to remind everyone, point the mics at yourself because it might not broadcast well.
Oh, you couldn't hear me?
No, you did a good job.
I pushed mine away.
Yeah, I know.
Then you don't hear my sidebar kind of.
Okay, thank you very much. Next item, comments from the audience. There are none this evening. Do we have any board committee reports or comments? Go ahead, Kathy. Yep. Microphone. Just have to point in your direction. They're pretty sensitive.
I believe that some administrators have given their notice to retire, and that is something contractual that has to be done at a certain time. I don't see anything on the agenda about that, and they're giving a certain time frame to retire. I would appreciate them being on the agenda at that time.
Typically, when we do receive the letters of retirement, we wait until the second board meeting in February. I know all the instructional staff have to have their letters in February 1st, and some people have changed their minds after thinking about it a little bit. And of course, the other thing is with this year with Dr. Dice not being here, and I know her strategic plan is in, they're working on that, and she may have some ideas in terms of what we may do in the future, so that would be another reason why we would have held off.
Anything to say on that?
No, I'll just add that that's been a long-standing practice to hold the administrative retirement letters until the teachers come in and to put them all on together at the end of February. We also have done that out of courtesy because then it allows the administrators time to tell people in their building or their departments that they are going to be retiring.
Anyone else?
I had the chance to go to Cinderella at the junior high this past weekend, and both the students and the crew did an outstanding job putting that show on. So I just wanted to say congratulations to them.
I would imagine they get better every year.
They do.
They were good 6, 7, 8 years ago, and I would imagine they get better every year. I know we have friends who attend another high school in our area, and their daughter was involved in all of the performances and all of those things at that particular high school, and she came to, it was probably either in 2007 or 2008, one of the high school plays there, and just couldn't believe the lights and the sound and the stage and the props and those kind of things, and the number of kids that participated. It was either, I forgot which play it was, but we do a nice job here, and we have people, many good students that participate. Michael, you were one of them. You still participate in the technology portion of a show, and you would be surprised at how important that is and what a difference a state-of-the-art sound system in a high school will make. So, great, Michael. Thank you. No? Wayne?
Yes, I have 3 items. One, I would like to welcome and introduce Mr. Don Keegan, our new Assistant Superintendent for Management Services. Mr. Keegan comes to us from the private sector. He was a Chief Financial Officer for several very large companies. He has been in the Marcellus Board of Education for 11 years, 6 of them as president, and it's really refreshing to have someone from the outside, so to speak, with the ideas that he has. I think you're going to be very pleased, very pleased. Secondly, we have some real good news about our high school kids. Our DECA students, or students taking business courses, competed in the Region 9 competition at the end of December, and there's over 400 students participate. We had 20 of our kids qualify for the state competition. We had 9 first-place finishers, 4 second, 5 thirds, and 2 fourths. So our students did extremely well, and I think Mr. Lucia, the faculty advisor, and the staff of the business department deserve a round of applause because they did just an outstanding job.
Is anybody here in the audience on DECA? Congratulations.
And last and certainly not least, this is the best news of all. We received today confirmation from the state of New York that we received a waiver for our Main Street Early Education Program for fiscal year 2009-2010. What that means is we will get $120,000 more money for 9-10. Then that carries forward to 10-11 and 11-12. So with this information, we now know we have the money to go at least 2 more years into 2013, 2014. And I've got to say, Mrs. Poole, the principal, and Joe Berry, who's very, very good at keeping track of the numbers, and Mr. Finkel, those are the 3 people that were hounding New York State and sent letter after letter, justifying why we should be allowed this waiver. And the state said they will absolutely not grant a waiver. Well, they convinced the state to grant us a waiver. So that program will now continue for at least a couple more years. Well done.
Great job. That was
Awesome.
a big battle and a very, very difficult decision-making process for Main Street because we all believe how wonderful that program, how viable and how important it is. So this gives us more time to work on figuring out how we're going to fund that program. That's wonderful. Stan, thank you, and thank the others for all their hard work, really.
I will.
Thank you. Okay, we have routine action items. Are there any questions on those routine items? Can I have a motion to take them as a group? Mr. Crabtree, second. Mrs. DiBianco. Recommended action is to approve items A, B, C, and D as submitted. All in favor? That's unanimous. Discussion item is procedures in the naming of school facilities.
Yes, Mr. Carbone, this is on here as a result of, as the board's well aware, we've had requests to name facilities or fields after individuals, and we really don't have a process or procedure as a district to follow. So I thought I would put this out so we could talk about, developing a process or a procedure that people could follow in terms of naming or requesting a facility be named after them. I asked Mrs. Gibson if she could find any policies throughout the state or anything. Did you have any luck at all?
I did, and basically specific guidelines, it's just veterinary.
I don't know. I would think, and this is just my opinion, based on the requests that we've had, it seems like they come in on a comments from the audience section, a couple of them. Maybe it comes through various people who know and have connections. Maybe a letter to the board through the district clerk for someone that wants to request that, so that it comes in on January 10th. It gets sent to all of the board members. We put it on an agenda item because it has to be a public discussion. We put it on an agenda, and then we discuss it and go from there.
I know in the past, too, and I'm thinking of Carl Siley Bear Road, we actually had a petition, which was a very positive rather than a negative thing. It was kind of a spontaneous thing that grew up among the parents and students and former students and whatever, and in a matter of days, I think we had over 500 signatures on that petition. And that might not be a bad thing to do. It's not a referendum, but maybe we think about a petition, because that way, too, you get the idea that, you get the feeling that the idea is coming from more than one place and more than one group of individuals. I don't know, but it's something I'm going to put out there and maybe something for us to think about.
I don't know. I don't really have a preference. I would say as long as it would be nice to hear about it before a meeting, or someone sent via a letter petition. I really wouldn't have a preference, but I think we should be notified through the clerk of the recommendation or from the person or people that are supportive of it. I really don't. I guess it's up to the board. However you all feel we should handle it.
Do we want to establish some kind of criteria for when and how and why we would do such a thing?
They don't really come to us all that often, and they come to us in kind of odd, like the naming of the stadium. We have two requests in front of us as we sit. One is the naming of the stadium, or at least acknowledging, acknowledging, whether it be by a plaque or whatever, the folks that were involved in that process. Now, a petition or something along those lines, the people, that stadium's been up over 10 years. I'm not sure the people back then or the people now who would understand or even have an idea of the folks that were involved in that process to begin with back 10 years ago or 15 years ago or whatever it is, 10 years now. And the second one was just brought to a couple of board members as something to contemplate. And I'm not sure, again, something like that would come in the form of a petition. I'm not sure that many people are even aware or would even contemplate it. So I don't honestly know.
The second item that you're talking about, I'm sure quite a few people would be willing to sign a petition for that.
Right.
But I think that, going back to what Sandy said, a specific criteria, if you set I don't want to say a goal, but, you know, X number of years service type of things. Because, I mean, when you talk about Carl Siley, he was
One of the two principals.
He was an ingrained principal while I was there, and he was there far after I left that building. So, you know, I mean, that was somebody, he truly deserved to have his name on that building, because that building, the staff had been groomed by him. A lot of those students, you know, have come back, and probably, I would say, are of him.
Right.
So, in, you know, looking at what we did for Mr. DiCarlo, we did something very similar to him, limiting it to just the library because you know, he wasn't in that building as long as Mr. Siley was. So,
I'm curious with the stadium, is there even a plaque of some kind
Yes.
that's on there that names
Yes.
the people?
Yeah.
There is
Yeah.
one. Okay.
I don't think we. I mean, we certainly have enough well-respected and dedicated employees, former students, and those kind of things where we could be naming everything all of the time. So I would say some sort of criteria would make sense. A letter / petition probably would be something, you know, if the feeling were strong enough to warrant whoever was requesting the naming to have a petition, then that would be acceptable. But at the very least, some kind of a letter or nomination letter, something like that.
well, if we could echo something like the Wall of Distinction, I mean, we don't send letters out soliciting
No.
names for that, do we?
Well, we kind of
Yeah,
have
we
a whole
advertise
process,
for it.
yeah.
We do. We advertise pretty widely for that.
You know, the concern in both of those buildings were named after somebody that passed away and had long left. You know, I think we do have to look at criteria, and I also think criteria of naming a building or a field is different than a plaque in a room. So you
Right.
get
It
a
is
wide range of things there. So.
Well, I mean, I think that, you know, loosely you want it to be someone who's made a significant positive contribution to the school district as a whole, or perhaps a particular building or a particular program or whatever. I think that could be your overarching, you know, loose criterion, and then some kind of process for determining, you know, on a hierarchy, what the criterion would be for a plaque or a room or whatever. But I think it's maybe something that we might want to talk about, an ad hoc committee that
That's
would meet a
constant.
couple of times and you know, figure it out and then come back and report to the board at large, you know,
Makes sense.
and hash it around here at the table.
Makes sense.
Pat,
Yeah.
with the Wall of Distinction, we do have bylaws, and we have a specific procedure that we follow, and criteria.
So that might be something that would be useful to that
It
committee.
probably would. It really makes a lot of sense, and it helps us guide the selection process.
And that would be, you know, I would think one of the tools we would use, what we've already got in place for certain things. You start out with that, and then you look at what people around you and what processes they use, and then you can come back with a recommendation and you know, to discuss it, everyone together.
Well, why don't you all think about it, and if anyone's interested in representing the board, I would imagine we should have a representative from
Probably one, at least
Probably
3 board
three.
members.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you know, a representative from a couple of the units, maybe someone from the staff, maybe a student, to get together a couple of times to put something together for. So email me, and then we'll talk about the makeup of the committee.
Then can we charge that committee with deciding what to do with the 2 requests that we have now, so at least we're moving forward with them?
Not until the board decides what
Right.
the criteria and
Right,
whatever
right,
are,
right.
and
Yep.
then we can evaluate them in the presence of our criteria and our products.
Yes.
Okay.
That would be probably the
Perfect.
best thing to do. I
Yeah.
would say.
Because, those two have been kind of, especially the first one's been sitting out there a while, so,
Yep.
you know.
And
I'd
I
kinda
have
like
to
to
say,
see us
that
do
first
something.
request, I put a condition on that, so there's actually three. Because I would bring that, when we had discussed that,
Yep.
I would bring that back to the table. I just think that would be right.
Okay.
Yep. Everybody okay with that? Okay. Discussion, action items, Home Depot versus Assessor of the Town of Cicero, final statement, memorandum.
The Home Depot has filed a certiorari for fiscal years 2008, 9, 10, and 11. The Town of Cicero attorney has already advised us that the Town of Cicero is going to accept the settlement. Our attorneys recommend that we do so also. And part of it is Home Depot will drop their proceedings for 2011, so there won't be a rebate or refund for 2011. The district will pay them back approximately $63,000 after the audit is finished for fiscal years 2008, 9, and 10.
For the purpose of the young people in the audience who might not know what a tax certiorari is.
Basically, it's the assessed value on the Home Depot located in our school district, and their attorneys for the company are saying it's overassessed. And after evaluating the process and looking at fair market value of other businesses of similar size and type of business, they agree. The property is overassessed. So as a result, we'll give them a refund for taxes for the last 3 years that they've paid.
Questions on that, folks?
I just want to clarify, not more than $63,000 for all 3 years, correct?
Correct, all 3 years. And it only will be verified after the audit is finished.
Else? Recommended action is to approve that resolution. Yep.
Yeah.
Motion. Michael, second. Jackie? Okay, go ahead. Yes.
Abstain, please?
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes. Motion carried. Acknowledgement of gifts.
Yes,
Before- go
we
ahead.
have 2 gifts this evening. Jennifer Rose has donated an exercise bike to the CNS Adaptive Physical Education Program, and also at Gillette, one of our parents bought a car from Raymore Chevrolet, and part of the promotion was they will give a $100 gift to the school if you buy a car and your name is picked, and they did, and they chose Gillette Road Middle School, so we received $100.
Cool. Great. We would like to, the recommended action here is that we accept with gratitude the 2 gifts as presented, and we would like to again thank the individuals for the gifts in these challenging fiscal times. We couldn't do some of the things that we do in our school district without the generous donations from the people in our community and those and others that have donated. So we have a recommendation, we have a motion. Tony, second. Michael, all in favor? And that's unanimous. We have an executive session. Do we need a motion before we
Yes.
take up items?
Personnel report, I would first like to make a motion to separate personnel A from B and C, and I would like an executive session to discuss A. Please.
Okay, we have a motion to separate A and B from C. That was
No, just A from
just
B
A
and
from B
C.
and C. So we have a motion to do that and a motion to move to executive session. Do I have a second? Tony, all in favor? That's unanimous, and we'll be right back. We'll be right back.
Yeah.
acting weight?
No, as acting, yeah. Not as last week. We got him till the end of January.
It's his last acting, though.
This is,
Here we go.
it's
Now we
right.
just get up.
And I didn't bring grapes tonight. I feel bad now. I would either skip the grapes or eat them later to the meeting. Oh, God. I had a conference call. Just crazy.
Here, let me hold it over here for you.
Technology is wonderful. They can find you even when you don't want to be found.
I don't know what it is.
About tranquility.
What the deal is. I've needed them more lately.
Stimulating. Now they're going to have tranquility camp where you give up your technology for the duration of the thing for adults and children. I don't know. I just turn everything off when I'm on the call. It's great.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion on the table to take personnel item A separately and to vote on B and C together. That motion is on the table. We have a second. I would like to make a motion for instructional personnel item A to amend and remove the co-curricular volunteer section and the homebound tutor section from this item. Connie, is that correct? That's the correct way to do that? Okay, do I have and to approve all the rest of the items on that personnel A? Motion, you have that, Connie? Second? Michael? All in favor? That's unanimous. Oh, and one abstention? One abstention, Pat Svoboda. Okay, thank you, Pat. Sorry about that. The remaining is to approve, or to acknowledge B and approve C as submitted. All in favor? That's unanimous. And I'd like to acknowledge retirements. Again, we have some wonderful employees in our school district, and when we lose them, especially, we used to be able to say that we lose years of experience, but we gain new people that will foster that experience. But unfortunately, in these times, it seems like we're not able to do that. So we wish them well in their retirement and congratulate them. Richard Graff, a custodial worker at Roxborough Road Middle School, retires with 34 years of service. And Marlene Higginbotham, a school secretary 1 in the athletic department, retires with 30 years of service.
Can I just say a little something about Marlene?
Sure.
Please? Marlene Higginbotham is someone who is an amazingly gifted woman who can do 50 billion things at one time, coordinate all different kinds of activities all at one time while fielding complaints from parents, while judging the field, the maintenance on the fields and making sure everything's the way they're supposed to be and everybody's on the fields when they're supposed to be and all of that stuff. That woman has coordinated quite a bit for this district and done a lot of it under the radar, behind the scenes, where most people don't even realize all that she's doing. And she is going to be missed. She's going to be missed.
Big time. And I just want to chime in too that not only is Marlene extremely competent at her job,
She is.
and with no muss and fuss, and she wrangles 2 directors on top of everything else, but she is the ear, the shoulder for many kids who go in there and touch base with her and get some encouragement and get a pat on the head, and also the mother of one of our really wonderful teachers. She's just a super lady, and there's going to be a big hole in that building when she leaves.
For years, when Community Connections was really in its heyday, Marlene would do all this extra stuff over and above her job duties, aside from all her job duties, to keep us rolling for Dr. Morton. So
And she is a big chunk of the Special Olympics. She and her daughter Kelly do probably 80% of the work, if not 85% of the work, to get that event moving as smoothly and well as it does. Love her to pieces.
I have to say that I worked for that department as a student aide when I was a student at the high school, and I did not know that there was an athletic director. I would imagine it was Marlene. You know, she approved my timesheet. She took care of all of that stuff, and you know, she was that ear. She was that shoulder. She, you know, she is an amazing person, and like you said, her daughter also. You know, she's made some huge contributions to this district. And I have to say that she is not fazed when I walk into that office with 4 kids that are screaming and tearing my clothes off. And she can just continue what she's doing, and it's just amazing. She really, honestly, is more than competent, more than patient, and I'm going to miss going into that office to see her.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we move into executive session for the purpose of receiving an update on contractual matters relative to 2 district bargaining units and to receive an update on 2 legal matters relative to potential litigation with no action to follow. Second? Tony, all in favor? Unanimous, and we're adjourned, and come on up and we'll sign your forms, guys. Any one of us.
You can go to anybody. Go to anybody on the table.
Anybody can sign you.
How you doing, Mrs. Latanzio?
Any one of us.
Good.
Next.
Thank you.
Never mind.
Sailor Mom
I'm a
Dad for me with
doodler
that.
too, so I can't say anything.
End of the semester, right?
There you go, Asia.
Thank you.
You can do it. You can do it.
Thank you. Good night.
Uh-oh. Were you naughty?
Come on right up.
All right, Bianca.
Good luck your second semester, guys. All seniors.
You can go to anybody around the table.
Thank you.
Keep me posted. Let me know where you are.
There you go. You're welcome.
Hello, how are you? Yes, right here. Jeez, we'll both sign if you want to. Are you a senior? Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Pride.
Drive right on.
I shall. Have a nice night, guys.
You too. Not so much, I don't think.
I'm trying to find somebody to do it.
Yep. Same to you. Good luck next semester.
Work with Mr. Big.